Hey everyone and welcome. I'm Jeff Galen and today we're diving into one of the hottest topics in property management, artificial intelligence. AI and automation are changing how leasing, maintenance, and resident services are done. But the big question is it really something small independent owners can use or is it just for the big players? To help us unpack that, I'm joined by Chris Julep and David Franklin from Yardi Breeze. They're both industry leaders who've been helping owners use technology to save time, cut costs, and stay competitive. David, Chris, thanks. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It is terrific to be here with you. I'm Chris Ulip, Vice President for Yardi Breeze, and really looking forward to a conversation about AI and specifically directed to independent rental owners.
And I'm David Franklin. I'm the industry principal for artificial intelligence here at Yardi, and I'm always game to talk about AI.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, Chris, David, before we get too far into this, one question I hear a lot is what exactly is AI and can it really help a small operator who manages maybe 20 or 30 units?
Well, that's an answer I can give an unequivocal yes, absolutely. Regardless of portfolio size, AI and technology is going to help your business be more efficient. Really, it has a place in every single business to streamline operations and get things done faster.
All
And
right.
maybe let's unpack what is AI is, because that's a good question, because it means different things to different people, and it's existed for a long time, but now there's this very new capability that we haven't had before, and I think that's what is sparking this revolution. It's the invention of the large language model. So artificial intelligence is basically anything where a computer attempts to replicate or simulate the reasoning ability of a human. And so the idea that back in the past we used machine learning in order to find patterns in data, but now with natural language processing and large language models, we're really talking to computers as if they are sentient beings. It's quite amazing. And so I think mostly that's what we're going to be focusing on talking about is this idea of using language models so that you can interact in a very humanistic way with computers.
So the whole field is growing so fast, and it's a little bit intimidating. So could you give us maybe like an example of what AI might look like in like an everyday property management task?
Indeed, certainly. I have a really good example from an independent rental owner who I was speaking with recently. For years, they processed invoices what we might call the old-fashioned way, and I'm sure there's a lot of our membership out there and viewers that still do. We're talking about invoices in the mail, making copies, using an ink stamp, putting it on someone else's desk, sending a package of it in the mail or FedEx. And the first step they took was to digitize that AP process and go as paperless as possible with approvals, and that was a great help. But now with an AI AP engine, the invoice is emailed from their vendor and goes through an AI powered scan of the invoice before they've even had to look at it or work with it. And then they look at it and they might make some edits or they might just approve it and send it along their way. So there is a human part of it, but that client told me that they save hours and hours for every single week. And not only that, their vendors get paid much faster. So everyone's happy.
No, I mean that is a tremendous change to what we actually are seeing in our normal operations. One of the things I worry about is I think a lot of independent owners hear about AI and they think, well, that sounds expensive. It's complicated. It's probably not for me. What do you say about that? I'm David. You work with this a lot. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Interestingly enough, some of the most powerful tools are actually free. Right? So if you look at ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, Copilot, built right into your Microsoft stack, all of those language models are incredibly powerful, even in their free iterations. So you don't have to spend a lot to get a lot. That being said, there are pay-for-play tools that will enhance the capabilities because they focus more on specific use cases. But you can get really far just using the latest generation of the tools that are freely available.
Okay, so what do you think are maybe some of the biggest misconceptions there are out there about using AI?
One of the things that I think for us all to maybe realize is that we're in one of those significant technology shifts that
Mhm.
businesses go through. We've been seeing it through our careers, no matter how long we've been in the workforce. And it might be a major industrial revolution, or it might be it's just simply advancements in technologies. I mean, not that unlike some of 4 decades ago when personal computers first showed up on desks, and then we had the World Wide Web, and then we had cloud technology and mobile phones and apps, right?
Mhm.
These are technology advancements that make that really help get you be smarter and make your business more efficient. And so I think that's one thing to realize is that you've been experiencing these shifts all along. Every time you get a new tool, that first time you had an iPhone or a mobile phone and you started doing things on it. And so that's really AI. That's to me is the current thing that's happening, and that's where and independent rental owners in particular can embrace it and see how it makes them better.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is it sounds like AI doesn't have to be a big investment. It's really about smart, simple steps, saves you time. So let's switch up a little bit and let's talk about staying competitive. Big management firms, they have full tech teams, they have big budgets. How can a small operator keep up with it by using AI?
Well, as David mentioned, there's free tools out there, and he's going to cover some of those good examples, I imagine, as we continue here. And what I suggest is lean into that, seeing how those tools might help you. Maybe it helps you write something, right? You've like all of us, sometimes we get writer's block, and we have sometimes I can't write that now. I'm going to write that later. Well, maybe just maybe that AI model will help you and get something done faster. You'd be surprised. And then I'm going to say you will be surprised at the affordability of using some of this advanced technology, including built in software, property management specific software programs. And really, I think the way you need to look at it is the cost of acquiring that software and how it makes your business more efficient and how it helps you every single day.
The big boys are struggling just as much, right? They're not immediately like they don't have access to some magical technology that is unobtainium to the average person. It really is the same type of tech, where you've got a language model, you've got this agentic AI where you're asking it to do things, but that's not really much different than what you can get out of standard tools. And in fact, in larger organizations, the biggest challenge for them is the change management of absorbing these new capabilities. And so you probably have an advantage as an IRO because you can be much more flexible. You can take this on, you can change the way that you think about your workflows and what you do on a day-to-day basis much more readily than these guys who are steering the Titanic, right? They can't turn that quickly. So I think the playing field is actually quite level.
Okay, well, all right. So you're selling me on the idea. Um, if me as an owner, so one of the questions I'm wondering about is, well, if I want to dip my toe in the water, what's the process that you would suggest would be worth automating first? Where am I going to get the biggest bang for my effort?
Chris, you want me to jump on that one?
Yes, David, why don't you go first,
All
please?
right. So one of the first places that you can put effort, maybe I'll give you two answers, right?
Okay.
Because there's the free answer with off-the-shelf software. Then there's the packaged tool, something that a Yardi would provide. So free is use one of the language models. Doesn't matter which one. Most people have heard of ChatGPT. That's kind of there. Copilot, I think, is on many people's computers just because Windows, it's sort of built in. That's the Microsoft thing. Just include it with everything. But maybe you want to use Claude from Anthropic or Gemini, which is Google's tool. All of these are very capable language models that have the ability to interact with data, have the ability to answer important questions, have the ability to generate content. So this generative AI, right, where it's writing for you or rewriting. So a good example, with a ChatGPT type solution would be take a document that you have, a spreadsheet, a report, a financial statement, anything that you've got, load it up, right? There's a little attachment button in all of these tools, and then start asking questions about it. The same kinds of things where you might have to open up Excel and take this and create a pivot table or try and sum columns and in order to answer like why are my expenses so high? How much did I spend on this stuff last year? Right? You can load in a whole bunch of documents and say, can you take these 5 documents, add them all up, from column G, or you don't even have to name the column. You can say the column that has the expenses month by month, right? The language models are very, very good at taking the context of the documents you give them and then extracting meaningful information from that. So give it a try. Ask those questions to them. You'll be amazed at what they can do. It's almost like having an MBA student sitting right next to you that can do it. They can even write computer code to answer questions. It's remarkable. So that's one thing that I'd start with. Second thing is if you're using packaged software, so Breeze, for example, we tie directly into a tool that we call PayScan. This is our AP automation platform. And that's where you can start getting a lot of value because we can automate via AI the ability of ingesting those invoices. So they come in, the AI reads them, does the OCR, understands, this number here, that's the invoice number. Here's a date. This is the date that this invoice came in. This is a due date. Here are the GL accounts. And starting to look at that, code that in, and then decide how we want to then further process that if we're going to approve it. And we'll even check for red flags. So the AI says, you know what? This is the first time you've ever paid this vendor at this property. Ooh, is that correct? Like maybe it was, actually meant to be property B instead of property A, but they both sound very similar and they got miscoded. Or it just might be the first time and it wants to just flag that risk so you're aware of it. So these tools are incredible for producing value and increasing operational efficiency. And so I'd say, jump in on that. It's not expensive, and it's a great way to create a lot of value.
All right, David, you're blowing my mind right now. So you just threw a whole lot of tools out there, and it's just phenomenal. And what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of ways to level that playing field with the big guys. We can automate a lot of services, and it's exciting. A big concern I'm hearing from some of the other small owners out there, though, is if I start using bots and automation, am I going to lose that personal connection with my residents? That's one of the things that I hear. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, I completely understand that. And it really reflects we're in a human business, right? And these are humans thinking about how they relate with their customers, the residents in their homes that they are providing. But at the end of the day, it's a human business of providing housing. And we know IROs are absolutely critical to the housing supply we have in America. So what I would say and wholeheartedly encourage everyone in our industry is embrace it because it'll help you and your teams work smarter, be more efficient, so then you can spend more time on the high value human touch items like personalized customer service and attention to your property. And so that's not going to go away. It's only going to help and enhance what you're doing every day.
So I love what you're bringing up is that we can use it to strengthen those relationships instead of maybe replacing staff. And I think that's a terrific approach to how we can integrate that. So I'm going to take a moment to kind of roll up our sleeves. Let's talk about how AI can actually be used. And I'm going to have you both walk us through some of the few real life cases that are out there. So one of the things that we're looking at is let's start with leasing. We've seen how leasing can be really a big time user, and it can be all consuming. We have calls, we have showings, we have leasing. How would we use AI in those areas?
Agentic AI is the new buzzword. And so if we want to talk about the kinds of flows, the kinds of things that happen when we're doing leasing, agents, which in the context of an AI, an agent is a combination of a language model, right? So this idea of the intelligence behind it, as well as giving it some purpose and access to be able to do things. And even like I said, the free models, the ChatGPTs of the world are becoming more agentic in that they can take on tasks. And the main thing that you as the person behind the scenes here has to learn and do is how to prompt these tools, how to ask them to do the things that you want. So you could have ChatGPT not only compose maybe an email, right, or help you compose some marketing material. So as you're saying, well, I've got a folder full of pictures, you just, again, attach them all up and say, can you please help me do this? And in fact, actually, in the latest version of ChatGPT, one of the things they just announced is the ability to connect into other tools natively. So in GPT-5, there's the ability to pull in, say, Canva, right? So Canva is a very popular image layout tool that's great, very easy for non-graphic designers to go and take some pictures, put them together. You could actually put together a whole marketing brochure with a folder full of pictures, GPT-5, and a Canva account, and just ask it to do all of the building for you without you having to really lift a finger. And then once it's done, of course, you can go and tweak and edit and tune. But these are very approachable, very accessible tools for something like that. And then once you've got the content, then even this concept of doing the marketing, sending it out, producing the emails, right, helping you with the language, those are all pieces that AI can fit into.
Wow. So, I know one of the places that we have a lot of pain is with our maintenance. It's, we keeping track of repairs, keeping track of where we're at on the maintenance team, what's been done, what's not been done. How do we use AI in that sort of a world?
Well, again, there are tools, I will
Mhm.
say, tools like Breeze that help bring all of that together. So you've got it in a platform. But even if you're not necessarily using a maintenance specific application, the power of Excel and the power of a language model bring those two things together, and you are really capable of doing a lot. So imagine, work order comes in, you can have your language model automatically update a spreadsheet and say, this work order just came in. Can you please add a row to the spreadsheet that we have stored here? And so you upload a template, right, and it can modify that spreadsheet. You can have it help with the contents, right? So as the request comes in, read this email. Hey, I don't know what a continuum transfunctioner is supposed to do. Can you please help me with that, right? So, of course, it's a made up example, but whatever the thing is that's broken, the AI can actually help with. So I use ChatGPT on my phone all the time to fix things in my house, right? Something goes wrong, something's happening. I like take a picture of it and say, what is this thing and how do I fix it? Right. So if I get a blinking light, like a lot of appliances have error codes, but it's not a screen, so you're not sure exactly what it's saying. So there's some internal code. GPT can go, it can search the web, it can find out what those error codes mean and give it to you in plain English. So it makes understanding things that you didn't understand before incredibly easy, and gives you this power of being superhuman where you now know the answer to everything, right? So lean into that, use that, let the AI help, let it be your assistant, let it be your teacher, and together you guys are going to be able to solve for any sort of maintenance issues that you have.
Gotcha, gotcha. So I know another thing that we struggle with is resident management and compliance. Regulations, fair housing rules, they can be tricky. How can AI kind of help us with that side of the business?
Remember what I said? You want to be an expert in anything? You now are because you have ChatGPT on your phone. You have Claude on your phone. You've got Gemini sitting right there. These tools not only have training against the entirety of human knowledge, but they also have the ability to now go out and read the latest. So if there's a regulation, something's changed, there's a law, something local, it can go and pull that data down in real time, read the content, and translate it from legalese, which not too many people speak, into English, right? Which is they're two different languages. So then you can now understand, wait a second, okay, there's this regulation. I'm responsible for making sure this happens within this time period. If I don't do this, here's the consequence. And talk to it back and forth. You can even use the interactive voice mode on these tools where literally you are just talking to them. It's not the thumbs, right? So some of us who are older, our thumbs aren't quite as facile as the new generation, but we're really great at talking, and the models can actually speak right back, and you have a whole conversation to understand exactly what's going on. So I'd say again, leverage them because all of this information, while it's available, and you could Google for it, and you can kind of search around letting the language model do that first pass and translate and give you a summarized set of data about whatever it is that the topic is. That's a really powerful way to save a lot of time, learn a lot of stuff, but without having to slog through tons and tons of web pages.
Well, all right. So you mentioned something that really kind of hit a nerve with, or hit a note
A
with
good
me,
nerve? A good
resonated
nerve.
well. So in particular, you mentioned translating. You were talking about
Huh?
translating legalese.
Hmm.
I live in a college town, and we have a whole lot of international students,
Oh,
international faculty. And in fact, we have several refugees that have come from other countries to reestablish residence in the United States. But the problem we have is they may not have English as a first language, and we will be asked to translate things into Urdu or
hmm.
languages that are really outside of anything that we normally have access to. How can we use AI to help us with that?
Oh man, that is one of the powerful use cases of AI. In fact, so there are different tools, of course, that you can use. You can use ChatGPT, all the language models. Apple has recently announced that their new AirPods, which I have on order, that they're coming in like 10 days. I'm very excited. They will do real-time live translation. So you put them in your ears, sort of like a babble fish from Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Yeah.
Galaxy. And when somebody speaks in whatever language it is, Urdu, Spanish, French, the microphone picks it up and in real time translates it to you in your language of choice. For me, it would be English. So these kinds of things are only possible now because of this new AI technology that understands the underlying meaning of words. And so that in the latent space, all our languages actually, we're saying the same thing. So if I say I'd like a bottle of water, right? We all know what a bottle of water is, whether it's, water or agua or, whatever you call it. So language models understand that. So being able to translate into different languages, oh, well, just what's the word that we need to output to mean that, right? And how does that grammar and syntax happen, at the top layer? So it's a fantastic use case. I actually have a video of me speaking in 7 different languages because I used a generative AI to record my voice and do it. In fact, you want to see it?
Well,
Should we include
sure,
it?
if you can bring it on right now, that would be terrific.
You got to see this because this is going to blow
Okay,
you away.
okay.
Like
So now
if
you
you think
got
your
me
mind was
excited. Now
blown
let's see it.
before, there we go.
Let me show you how we can leverage the power of AI to do some amazing things. Specifically, I'd like to be able to speak in multiple languages. The real David Franklin only speaks English and Pig Latin, but I can speak in pretty much any language. Let's try Spanish. Hola, soy yo hablando contigo en español. En realidad, nací en Bogotá, Colombia, pero fui adoptado cuando tenía apenas 2 años y nunca aprendí a hablar con fluidez. Vaya, qué suerte que no perdí mucho tiempo en clases de español, porque ahora puedo hablarlo perfectamente. Pretty amazing, right? Let's try a language that is completely different. How about Chinese? 这是我用中文，特别是普通话对你说话。我曾经和一个中国女孩约会，唯一我学会说的普通话是我不会说中文，但现在我可以像本地人一样说话。Okay, one last example. Let's try speaking in French, the language of love. Chaque fois que je pense à parler en français, j'imagine toujours que je suis Pépé le Pew, le moufette des dessins animés de Bugs Bunny. Je trouve un chat mignon et lui exprime mon amour éternel d'une manière qui n'est pas du tout effrayante. Wow, ce dessin animé était assez étrange et je pense qu'il serait annulé à ce stade. Wow, I feel so talented. What I'd like you to take away from this is an understanding that generative AI is very powerful and can be used for amazing purposes. Imagine what AI can do for you.
And now, in fact, even the English part where I'm speaking is not me. None of this is real. Every single pixel that you're seeing is synthetically generated by an AI. So the power of these tools is incredible. And I think it blew my mind. So tell me, did I succeed? Is your mind blown?
It's amazing to the point where I can even see this being disruptive. It is incredible the changes we're seeing.
Yeah. So if you're trying to communicate with people in other languages, so the tool that I use there is not a plug specifically for any particular tool, but it's called HeyGen, Heygen. So if you go to heygen.ai, I actually use the free version. You get a couple of minutes of recording, and it only took me a short amount of time to learn how to use it. You basically record yourself for a few minutes, and it creates an understanding of what you look like and what your hand gestures look like, and then it can create new content. And so if you want to put out a message to your tenant, to your resident, whoever it may be, and you don't speak that language, you might not have to go so far as to create a full digital video avatar and have this language translation thing, but you can see where the technology is going.
All
And
right. So
eventually that'll be real time. Like, so we'll be on a Zoom call like this, and I'll be speaking in English, but you'll be hearing it in Spanish, right? Or vice versa.
I want to flag something that you just said. It was free.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
Yeah,
That's just
and
crazy.
if you're going to pay for it, like because you want higher quality or you used up all your minutes, it's
Mhm.
like $20 a month or something. It is
Okay.
not expensive, right? It's
So
very, very
definitely
approachable.
another tool we could put into our toolbox to help us with those residents. So I'm gonna back up for just a moment, and Chris, moving maybe a little bit more away for some of these more spectacular things that are happening in AI. I'm running a small portfolio, and one of the things that we look at is trying to keep track of everything, having these dashboards and automations in place. Talk to me just a little bit about how that's kind of changing with AI.
Absolutely. Why don't we think about everyone knows what your customer journey is like. And when I'm talking about, we talked earlier about marketing and leasing and obtaining, filling your units, right? And obtaining new residents. And right there is where you're writing content to be attractive to appeal to someone. So whether it's you're using AI to generate these descriptions or photo editing and optimizing your ads and then you get people to start applying online, and that's when they come in and they're asking for more information. And so again, these are tools that a property management system will offer, including a chatbot. Now we've had chatbots now for a while. And there's been years now of learning where our systems have been taking in chats and learning about what people are asking about most frequently and therefore getting smarter and smarter. Well, now the AI engine can help handle those chats, and they can text your emails and even voice interactions. So that's kind of where it goes from into the leasing part and those agents there. And then of course when we get into the whole part about signing leases and sending reminders when things are due, and you're a resident now, and providing your portals, self-service, and checklists, things how to move in, and when you turn on your utilities. It's all part of this flow. Inspections. There's so many different pieces of what we've been doing every day in property management and will continue to do. And AI is just going to keep making it better and better.
Wow. I mean, and this is such a great list. I mean, it shows how even some of the smallest things out there that we do can be automated. It can just make our lives so much easier. So let's be honest, adopting new technology, it can be intimidating. I mean, we're talking about running AI to generate a virtual me, talking about having conversations. We're talking about it doing my accounting, following my maintenance flow. If you're not a computer person, what do you have to say to someone who's maybe afraid of this, a little bit afraid to dive in?
Well, I will say that it will be natural to have maybe some reluctance or even to be afraid of it, but try to overcome that because you want to be somebody who utilizes the tools to make yourself more efficient and your business more efficient. Those are the people, you don't have to be afraid for your job. As I said earlier, we're in a human business of providing housing. However, the employees who embrace it and utilize it are the ones who are going to have a long and bright future, and it's just going to help you overall. And so that's really my message is do your best not to be afraid of it, embrace it, try it, and experience it.
Ah,
Yeah,
great.
and I'll piggyback on that because you fear the unknown. You fear what you can't understand, you can't see, you haven't experienced. As soon as you try it and you realize, wait a second, this is just like talking to a buddy, it becomes much less scary. And some of the more advanced tools, yeah, you get there, and you don't have to start on day one creating digital avatars of yourself or going very complex with much more sophisticated tools. Start simple. Think about small use cases, little things that you can do. Just have your language model available as an assistant to answer questions. Right? That's a great place to start. It's almost replacing Googling. Even Googling isn't Googling anymore because Google Googles Google to give you the answer, right? So when you go and search something now, you get that AI overview. That's Google doing the search, but then reading all the answers and summarizing it for you. And so it's a massive shift in the way that even these large companies are thinking about how information should be disseminated. And so that's great. Take advantage of that. Use that and start getting facile with understanding how to interact with these. And maybe one thing that stems from that is this idea of prompting and learning how to talk to an AI. Because while it is very intelligent and humanistic and cool, it's not a human. Right? So there are some little gotchas that you run into, and sometimes you'll ask a question and you don't quite get the answer that you need. And oftentimes it's because you haven't given the AI enough context. And so there used to be a thing called prompt engineering where because the AIs were kind of dopey when they started, you had to be very clever about the way you ask questions in order to get the right answer. Now they're getting much smarter, but they need context. So instead of prompt engineering, now what we're doing is context engineering. And I know engineering sounds technical, but it just means giving these things more and more information so that they have better ability to be helpful. And so the more spreadsheets you share, all your financials, load them up and then ask questions about that. One thing also that people get scared about is privacy. They don't want this data being leaked out. So I will say, pro tip here, if you're using any of these language models, they all have a privacy mode, right? They didn't on day one, and that was a big source of concern, but now they all do. So if you go into the settings, and depending upon which one it is, they're in a slightly different place, but there should be a little checkbox or switch that says, do not share my data, right? Or don't use it to improve the model. And that's all you have to do. Turn that off, and then it stays within your account, and there's not really a risk of that data being exposed, short of some massive data breach. But you have that risk, no matter what. Like if you're storing your Excel files in the cloud, right? They're just as exposed. So I'd say don't be too worried about that. Make sure you set your privacy appropriately, but then go ahead and start playing, right? And the more that you do, the better you'll get. And it's just like anything else. With practice comes perfection.
So you're mentioning that the more we use it, the better we'll get at getting the results we need. But I'm going to kind of flip this. Does the AI models get better the more we use them as well? Do they learn from what we're putting in?
Yes. So, and it happens in two ways. So, there's this idea of memory. So again, it's something that's now in the latest versions of these language models. They have the ability to understand, right, this context. They expand that context by keeping track of what you've talked about in the past. So the more you interact with it, the more it gets to know you. And that there's also a setting there as well, so you can control that. But it can be very helpful because you don't have to keep repeating yourself. And if you mention that you have a property and it's located at this address and you are talking about it, close your chat, you come back, it still knows about that property. So you can continue that conversation. So there is that learning that happens because of memory and because of this ability to learn more through greater context. Of course, there's also the second type of learning that happens more so at the foundation lab level. So when a new version of GPT comes out, so GPT-5 was just released, it's learned more, it's gotten smart, it's gotten better at reasoning and instruction following and doing these things. So you're going to continue to see that march of progress as well without you having to do anything, right? The models are just going to get smarter because of the work that's being put into them. But that rising tide lifts all boats, which is great. You're going to be able to benefit from that. So it's a fantastic world that we're living in where these things are possible and billions and billions of dollars are being put into these. You should leverage that. Take advantage of it. The technology industry is subsidizing all of our capability. And so while it's still free, go for it. Use it.
So to kind of summarize everything, what I originally was going to say that exciting things are on the way, but I think that that's not really accurate. I think exciting things are here today. So it sounds like technology just isn't for the big guys anymore. It's just about choosing the right tools to fit your size and to fit your goals. And for independent owners out there, start small, start smart, stay human. And I think the opportunities are terrific. So Chris, David, this has been fantastic. It's been an exciting conversation. I think what stands out to me is technology. It's bringing a lot of opportunities to us to run our businesses, reduce stress, save time, save money. So start small, scale smart, stay human. Thanks again for both of you for your insights. Does anyone have one last thing that they would like to put out there to finish the conversation off?
Thank you, Jeff. Really terrific to have this conversation. And I love hearing David talk about this technology. Thank you, David, for sharing your expertise. And we'll really just reiterate again, software technology, AI-driven technology, it should be available to companies of all sizes, regardless of the size of your portfolio. Firmly believe that. You're seeing it right now. Just keep embracing, keep learning.
This is a fantastic time to be alive. Don't be afraid of it, right? To reiterate the concept earlier of like losing your job, this is a really important thing. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who has already embraced AI if you don't, right? So definitely don't stick your head in the sand. You want to be engaged with this because these are the new tools, right? My dad was an accountant, right? So when he was, I'm aging myself a little bit, but when he was a young accountant, they had spreadsheets, like a piece of paper, and he could add numbers in his head super fast. And then spreadsheet software came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, that's the end of accounting, right? We don't need accountants anymore, right?" Do we still have accountants? Yes, we do. We have a lot more accountants, and they do a lot more interesting things than just adding numbers in their head. So that's what's going to happen with AI. You're going to get smarter. You're going to get more powerful. You're going to be empowered to run more units, do more things, and then have more free time to do the things that you really want to do. So it's a great, great set of tools. Use them, love them, and be successful.
So Chris, David, thank you both for your insights and for your passion. This was terrific. And for the audience, thank you for taking your time to join us today. Have a great day.